The science backs you up if you consider your dog to be your fur baby. According to recent research, the same chemical reaction that binds us to human babies is triggered when our canine friends look into our eyes. The study, which is the first to demonstrate this hormonal effect of bonding between humans and other species, may help in the understanding of how dogs came to be our buddies from ancient times. According to Brian Hare, a canine cognition specialist from Duke University in Durham, North Carolina, it's an astounding finding that implies that dogs have hacked the humanity's bonding system. According to him, the finding could help explain why service dogs are so beneficial for people with PTSD and autism. Because it could have such wide-ranging effects, a discovery of this scale needs to be replicated. In this episode of Wildlife Free, we will explore this more closely. Why do dogs and humans love each other so much? So stay tuned and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. The understanding between dogs and humans. The capability of dogs to interact with people is already well known. Dogs appear to comprehend humans in a manner that no other animal can. And it's not simply because they enjoy going on walks and catching frisbees. Dogs have the ability to intuitively interpret human intentions, such as, "I'm trying to show you something," which baffles our closest living cousins, chimps. Point at an object, for instance, and they will glance in the direction you are pointing. When interacting, they both look into each other's eyes. Wolves, which are the closest living relatives of dogs, take this as a sign of hostility. Dogs and human infants release oxytocin. Takafumi Kikushui, an animal behaviorist at Azabu University in Japan, was intrigued by this mutual staring. Kikushui's group investigates oxytocin, a hormone involved in maternal attachment, trust, and compassion. Other studies have found that when a mother looks into her baby's eyes, oxytocin rises in the child, causing the child to stare back, causing the mother to release more oxytocin, and so on. This positive feedback loop appears to form a deep emotional attachment between mother and child, at a time when the newborn is unable to communicate in any other way. Takafumi Kikushui has owned dogs for over 15 years. He wondered if the same applied to canines, like the mother and child attachment. "I adore my dogs, and I always consider them to be more of a companion than a pet," he says. After that, I began to ask the question, why are they so close to humans? Why are they so intimately connected to us? Kikushui and his co-workers were successful in persuading 30 of their close friends and family to bring in their pets for the experiment. In addition to this, they tracked down a few individuals who kept wolves as pets and made contact with them. The researchers invited each owner to bring their animal into the laboratory with them, after which they collected urine from both the animal and the owner. And then they requested the owners to spend the next half hour interacting with their pet while they were in the same room. During this period, the owners usually caressed and talked to their pets. The owners and dogs looked directly into each other's eyes, with some couples doing so for a combined total of 2 minutes, and others for only a few seconds at a time. It shouldn't come as much of a surprise that the wolves avoided making much eye contact with their owners. After the timer ran out, the team collected more urine samples. Mutual steering had a significant impact on both the dogs and their owners. Both male and female canines saw a 130% boost in oxytocin levels after spending the most time looking into each other's eyes. And both male and female owners had a 300% increase. One of them was Kikushui, who also took part in the experiment. The researchers discovered no increase in oxytocin in the dogs and owners who spent little time looking at one another or in any of the wolf-owner pairs. Studies show that people who take their dogs to work often display similar levels of affection towards them as mothers do towards their babies, which may explain why we hold pets as dear as complete family members. The study also reveals how interactions between humans and their pets create a positive feedback loop, very similar to that of a mother and her newborn. Research pinned the effect known to scientists as the oxytocin loop, on the hormone oxytocin, the same bonding chemical released during sexual intercourse or breastfeeding. You can talk to your dog, believe it or not. You are more fluent in dog language than you give yourself credit for being. In order for you to be proficient in the language, you would need to be a dog. However, if you moved to a dog-only world, you'd be fairly good at comprehending what they're saying. A worried yip can be distinguished from a frightening growl, and a bark that says hello can be distinguished from a run for your life bark. You can interpret the body language of your dog as saying joyful, sad, fatigued, terrified, and please play with me right now. Do you really think that isn't wonderful? Then give your best guess to understand what a delighted bird sounds like, or a sad lion. It's quite impossible to differentiate, right? But you can easily understand dog language. You didn't even have to make an effort to learn it. Similar to how you picked up your first human language. You were raised in a world where dogs are normal, so you naturally developed an understanding of these animals. That, in and of itself, is illustrative of the connection that exists between humans and dogs. We keep cats as pets, horses as working animals, cows and chickens as employees, paying them in food in exchange for their milk and eggs, unless we decide to kill them for food. Our lives and the lives of other animals are intertwined, yet we have the ability to cut these ties if we so choose. But when it comes to dogs, things are handled differently. Long, long ago, our world and their world collided and mingled together like two distinct colours of paint. After you've mixed the colours to create an orange hue, you'll never want to go back to red and yellow again. But what accounts for that? It is not sufficient to claim that the relationship is symbiotic, meaning that dogs hunt and herd for humans, and in return, we keep them warm and feed them. A similar symbiotic relationship exists between sharks and remora fish, in which the remora fish removes parasites from the shark's skin in exchange for the shark allowing it to help itself to leftovers from the shark's prey as its payment. That underwater deal is simply transactional. There is no love involved. On the other hand, humans and dogs are infatuated with one another. Nobody knows when the connection began. The earliest bones of dogs and humans buried together date back 14,000 years, while some unconfirmed findings are reported to be more than twice as old. The most important takeaway is the interpretation of the findings, which is that we shared our lives with canines and then voluntarily decided to be buried with them. Imagine that happening and the depth of the bonding. Humans and dogs share an amazing bond with each other that dates back thousands of years. Dogs have adapted to human nature and vice versa. The love for one another between the two species is heart-melting. Like dogs, we love to have one more animal as a pet. Cats. So which one is better as a pet? That's coming in our next video. Don't miss it. That's all for today. See you in our next episodes. Till then, goodbye and take care.